question is, what could be done about unemployment? In order to be in a position to define the necessary solutions to the problem, it's of prime importance to precisely identify the root causes leading to unemployment. We must come to terms with the obvious reality that education has become completely out of touch with the demands of modern age new skills and knowledge. We must come to realize that the education system is too archaic. It's a system that was principally designed to provide employees for the Industrial Revolution workforce. It's a system that has not only become restricted to producing limited job opportunities, but also a growing number on a yearly basis of unemployable people around the world. Today's formal education system is about 200 years old. As industrialization changed the way we work, it created the need for universal formal schooling. Today's workforce demands for skills and knowledge did not exist during the inception of the education system, and so it cannot provide the necessary skills and knowledge for today's workforce needs. As such, the education system must be completely overhauled to adapt to the present and future jobs requirements. The education system is lagging behind. It suffices to state that in the days when the universal formal education started, back around the 1800s to about the year 2000, jobs that young adults would compete for existed and are known to everyone. As of about the year 2000, students may well have to compete for jobs that did not exist when they enrolled in elementary school. We must be prepared for such tendency to accelerate exponentially with time, whereby people will have to compete for jobs that did not exist when they started high school. And one day, when they have initiated their college degree. Now, about education dysfunction and disparity. Every year, the World Economic Forum releases its Global Competitiveness Report on the state of the world's economies. Among other factors, they look at education. In today's education system, we find that the best by far pre-K education is offered in Japan, where they have learned that at that age kids learn when they are playing. Even the design of the pre-K schools is conceived for learning while playing. As to the best elementary schooling system, we need to go to Finland, whereas the best schools, best high schools are in Hong Kong, China. A little side note here that most people think that China is the world's supplier of goods because of cheap labor. And we fail to remark that it is also the country with the highest number of engineers and other technical skills. And so when it comes to the best universities and research, the USA leads the way. So what are the challenges for a new education system that may produce the workforce of the future? I believe that the common denominator would have to be flexibility. Flexibility in a matter of design to be inclusive, that is to take into consideration that every individual is different in a matter of conception of new knowledge, and equally different in a matter of being evaluated and tested. Education must not be considered as one size fits all. Flexibility also in matter of availability. Education must not only be available to those who may come to school, but rather education must be delivered to all, regardless of any consideration. Today's connected world presents a better opportunity to deliver education to students regardless how far they live away from the school. Online education will equally mitigate the growing disproportion between the number of educators and the ever-increasing number of students. Flexibility to teach subjects arranged in a logical sequence to prepare for future job assignments and real-life situations. This, in turn, would prepare students to compete for new jobs that did not exist before. Flexibility to become life journey opportunity and not an education that stops when a person begins a new job. So what is a successful education system would look like? To put it simply, it would be a system that prepares students for a job that did not exist before when they have started their education. It would be a system that involves many subjects that represent the building blocks for an effective education system. These new subjects must not be taught as a separate individual subject, but rather in an area of learning put together based on real work situation, problem solving, and skills. It is quite certain that routine jobs will no longer exist in a few years. Jobs like accountant, basic administration, like drivers. The future jobs are those who require human creativity, correlations between facts. The new skills and education that help land a new job in the future are things like artificial intelligence, machine learning, is how to seek small data out of hyper big data and make it usable, automation, robotics, genomics, e-commerce, m-commerce. Take, for example, a degree in marketing. As it is delivered today, it will not help land a job in the future, but rather increase the number of unemployed college graduates. A degree in marketing of the future is one that includes artificial intelligence, genomics, m-commerce. So how do we know that we have the right education system or a better education system? We would know if students start at a very, very early age learning about things like computer programming. When the school system no longer teaches one subject at a time, but rather by area of teaching, involving a few pertinent subjects together. When teamwork starts at elementary school. When education comes to students wherever they are. When we have an education system that acknowledges that every individual has different perception skills in the learning process. We must acknowledge that a student who has a hard time keeping up with the education system must not attend a special school. It's rather that the education system is retarded. When testing takes into consideration that every student is different in expressing new knowledge. When we have a system that's not focused on grades, but rather solving problems in a teamwork environment. And lastly, an education system that ensures that people engage in a lifelong learning journey. I believe that if we can design such a system, we may come to consider one day that we have a system that meets and exceeds the future workforce demands, as opposed to a 200 years old education system that keeps producing the future unemployable people. Thanks for your kind attention.